Hello everyone, and welcome to my new series, Let's Analyze! Today, we'll be talking about the latest power creep, Fjorm, the legendary ice princess. She's cute, she's sturdy, and she's trying to power creep my President Obaro. Though they're two different beasts even as blue mixed tanks go. Now, let's talk about her stats. So, her stats. She's got 30 all over the place. Her stat line is pretty balanced with a little bias towards resistance. Those stats reminds me of those belonging to Bulbasaurus Rex, and I think she is kinda underrated, but that's story for another time. Anyway, so with a resistance of 34, Fjorm is by far the best natural distant counter unit. I never did understood why they made guys with distant counter weapons weaken resistance up until now. But anyway, because of this, all she needs to do is sit down somewhere and let someone attack her, soak the damage, and then rip their face off. In theory, anyway. You see, with a base attack of 30 and a speed of 31, Fjorm does have a slight problem where she doesn't hit hard or fast enough, but nothing a change of skill won't solve. Her defense is also quite good. Now, it's not 35 like the President, but 30 is not a number to be scuffed at either. And with her decent 39 HP, she's a great mixed tank that'll be quite difficult to remove. Now that we got the general stats out of the way, let's talk IVs. Fjorm is one of those heroes where her natural IVs are fine as it is. But if you do end up rolling for her, you need to be aware that she has 3 Super Banes where HP, attack, or defense will take a 4-point hit. And in my opinion, those are all very bad Banes for her. Let me explain. Well, in general, minus HP is usually a bad thing, and it's not good on Fjorm because Fjorm is a tank, and not just that, a mixed tank. Still, despite that HP is a valuable tool to keep her afloat, it's not the worst of the 3. As for attack, a Super Bane lowers her to 26, and with an attack score like that, I truly hope you enjoy the sound of dings, because ding is the only thing you're going to hear when she strikes someone with a decent defense. As for defense itself, she cuts straight into her mixed tank status, and she's not exactly fast, so you're looking at 8 extra damage, or 16 if somebody decides to quad your ass, and that's just neutral damage. So suddenly sound like a pretty terrible Bane, eh? As for the rest of her Banes, minus speed isn't exactly as bad as it sounds. Though, 31 is not exactly a great speed tier. Like, something like this, forget doubling anything. There's gonna be things that'll double her, so lowering it to 28 isn't really that huge a deal. Minus res does suck a little bit, but it won't change many matchups as opposed to speed, for instance. And since Fjorm is a ranged defense specialist, it doesn't really bother her that much. As a matter of fact, she'll negate a little bit more damage for the Ice Mirror counter, so Ice Mirror counter attack, and I think that's pretty swell. So I would focus on minus res if I want to play with IVs, but in general though, I think neutral is just fine with her. Now as for her boons, she has no super boons. Plus speed sounds pretty good because it'll move to a more comfortable 34 speed tier to prevent getting doubled. But, when you really think about it, guys like Nino at the 36 speed tier will still double her after using a simple Fury. And it's not like Nino doesn't already get speed plus speed IVs anyway to double her. In fact, most damage dealers in the meta worth their salt will have plus speed IVs and or using something like Swift Sparrow or Life and Death. Still, that's not the end of the world. With the power of friendship and possibly marriage, you might be able to prevent it getting doubled, that is, provided the enemies don't have buffs of their own. Now, plus attack is pretty solid. That'll really help her out when she counters attack an enemy, or when she needs to take an initiative for whatever reason. I'd aim for that. Then there are defensive stats. They're all good. Even HP, despite getting hit twice, halves its effectiveness, just because it covers both defense and resistance. Well, any IVs can be salvaged in some way if it comes to that. Now, let's talk about her skills while I clear up some maps to showcase her a little bit. First, her weapon. Lipton Ice Tea is a beautiful distant counter spear, so there's really not much to say. But then there's her Ice Mirror, her signature skill. Let me just put these guys here first before I continue. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm just going to put you right here to tank all these wonderful attacks. There you go. Anyway, so Ice Mirror, her signature skill. Her first block and counter skill. It blocks damage from ranged units and then adds whatever damage that was blocked to their counterattack. I quite like the concept, as I have theory crafted something similar in the past as well. But it does have a problem. As you've just seen with Olden, the thing with Fjorm is that both of her defenses are high, so the damage she will block becomes much lower. Especially against someone who can't hit you hard in the first place. So, using this skill, you'll find her more often than not dead in the water when it comes to actually killing someone in a counterattack as opposed to a face-ripping Ignis. Now, it's not a bad skill, as ranged units are pretty rampant in this meta. Using this skill will give her a ton of staying power, especially against stuff like green mages. Best part is that the skill also significantly reduce damage from skills like the aforementioned Glacies. So, now if you were to block that, your counterattack will really be something else. Fire Sweep Bow or any character that prevents counterattack though will still have their damage blocked, but you won't be able to reflect any damage, so keep that in mind. Now, next up is her A skill, the Attack Defense Bond. I really like this skill, because by merely standing next to someone, all of a sudden Fjorm gains a massive increase in her attack and her defense. So, sorry about that. Bolstering both her tanking and counter-attacking capabilities. It works really well with her theme, which is teamwork. I mean, when you really think about the whole seasons thing, it's just crying out for Fjorm to hurry and get married to someone, giving them a blessing in the meantime, and create some kind of super buff monster to devastate the countryside. Now, if you're gonna go down that path with her, I recommend a tanky guy like Magic Ike to cover a weakness, because such a combination will allow them to pretty much tank an entire spot all by themselves. Now, Delphia is not a bad idea either to bolster her attacks, but you'll definitely need someone else to deal with greens if they're there. Anyway, next we have her B skill, which is Shield Pulse. Now, Shield Pulse, it does synergize with Ice Mirror nicely, blocking an initial attack and then removing 5 additional damage. To be honest, it really sucks for her. See, the problem with her is that after you block the first attack, you're pretty much left dead in the water because of her average speed. So I think using something like Quick Riposte would be the way to go. That way you hit someone twice in the head, probably killing them, and you build your shield for the next attack. That would a much better idea if you ask me. I think Shield Pulse is one of these skills that are better as a seal, kind of like Brash Assault. Then I think there is her C skill. Drive Attack is simply wonderful. I love spurs, and while it doesn't help guys like me as much, at least you don't have to panic about panic. Well, let's finish this once and for all.
As you say.
It's a bit of a shame. I guess I'll just have to stab Merrick in the face real quick, take the initiative, and then roll his face off with Delphia. Okay. Alright, now that we covered her stats and skills, let me wrap things up with some example builds I have for her. So, her C skills and seals are flexible. For her C slots, I think Attack Smoke if you want her and the rest of the team to tank harder, or just keep her Drive Attack if you want your team to kill harder. No, that or any other buffs you see fit. I think for seals, distance defense and close defense are the best. But if you feel like buffing and providing tanking at the same time, then use Attack Smoke Seal. Now, to start things off with builds. The first build, we have our base build with Quick Riposte instead. You have to stand next to your allies more often, but that will help her tons as a mixed tank. And also to give her counterattack the punch that she so desperately needs. Cheap, affordable, free-to-play option that is still highly effective. There's something truly beautiful about surviving an attack, or 2 or 3, then have someone Wings of Mercy and kill another guy, then have Fjorm climbs over his ally to kill yet another dude. It's beautiful. Fjorm can tank many things with this setup. An alternative version, Magic Fjorm, uses distance defense in her A slot, or close defense, for excessive defense against the dark arts. Or, I don't know, dragons or something. Anyway, the second build is something I call the Infinite Mirror. It's the same build as before, except with Steady Breath instead. Now, Steady Breath is awesome, providing her defense for mixed tanking while giving her 2 charges when she gets attacked. Do you understand what this means? Say, for example, she had her shield up, you block the first attack, and then you counterattack, building another shield, and if the enemy attacks you again, you simply block again, and then you counterattack thanks to Quick Riposte and get another shield for the next victim. That's absolutely disgusting. I threw up when I saw this. Now, the third one is a bit more generic, not to mention expensive. You use Steady Breath to build gauge for Glacies to rip someone's face off. Well, I guess it's about the same price as Infinite Mirror now I think about it, but slower units will have to take a second hit before they can unleash this move. Now, an alternative, super expensive version, Titanic Fjorm, uses Iceberg and Wrath to send thousands of people into their watery graves in your first counterattack. You even have the option to sit around and build up your anger after getting your HP reduced from an attack or something. You can then have someone turn you an Iceberg torpedo by launching you over with reposition and send them to the Shadow Realm after you finish charging. Excessive force. Yeah, but yeah, it's perfect. Wrath is good for a couple units, and I believe that Fjorm is one of them. In general, you want your units to be tanky in order to utilize Wrath. One of the things I really don't like about the Burger King is that his resistance is, well, pretty terrible. So he ends up getting blasted. 34 speed? No. If you can get plus speed IVs, maybe we can work with that. But since he's neutral, not so good. But anyway, that's story for another time. Anyway, that's pretty much it for my little guide on Fjorm. I hope you all enjoyed my analysis. Join us next time as we spread the cheeks of other topics and expose the truth within.